Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mile High Sports Symposium. I am JT Matthews, one of your hosts at JT Matthews01 on the Twitter, and I'm here with the Dr. Nicholas Manning at Dr_Manning on Twitter. Doc, happy Wednesday. We are back here to talk all sorts of sports, Colorado sports specifically, in case anyone wasn't sure. How you doing today? How's your mental state? How you feeling?
We'll talk a lot.
Well, yeah, that's probably true.
You just throw it out there. We'll do it. I'm doing it. Hey, man, we got it was almost 80 yesterday. Today, it's a good 70, sunny. It's not windy. I mean, we needed it, bro. I was telling people,
sure.
I didn't realize how cold the winter felt until it wasn't cold anymore. And then I was like, I could feel the physical difference. And I was like, man, how mean have I been?
I know,
just
right?
When you feel significantly different for no reason, oh, jeez. Should probably apologize to a lot of people, I think.
I mean, it's, part of it's the age too. I'm getting to the point where it's oh, cold weather. My knees kind of hurt a little bit,
Yeah, it's just, the kids don't want to go play in it, and
Nope.
what do you got to, especially if it's not it's not fun. It wasn't fun cold. There wasn't a lot of where it's it's cold, but sun's out a little bit, or there's good snow. It was just if it was cold, it was cold. It's that sucks.
For sure.
No point in that crap.
No, we avoided the outdoors like the plague, but all at the same time, then we all got sick of each other being inside all the time. So it'll be nice for some weather, so we can send the children out or go out ourselves if we're feeling up to it. I'm ready for the change. I'm a big fall winter guy, but even me, you just need some diversity. You need to change it up a little bit. I'll probably get sick of the heat in a month and be ready for the autumn again. But right now, I'm all for the change.
Yeah. Yep. Once it gets hot, then I'll complain, and I want it to be regular again. Regular.
Yeah.
I want it to be regular. So, but you know what? That's a problem for another day. I'm gonna take it. And we're gonna run with it. And you know what? We got a lot of sports stuff going on. So let's dive in, baby.
Let's dive right. And we're gonna obviously talk a lot about the Nuggets today. We're gonna save that to the end. So if you are interested in hearing us talk about all of the things that went down yesterday with the coaching staff and front office, we have lots of takes on that. But I want to start with the Colorado Avalanche. Little quick news. They've been playing well. They won against the Vegas Golden Knights the other night. Was that last night? In overtime. Shootout.
Yeah, come back. And comeback win. I think they are second behind Washington in comeback wins this year. Just saying.
Yeah, they got some firepower right now. They got some firepower, and they're able to battle back pretty often, though it's not really the position you want to be in. However, it's nice to be able to do it. Mostly want to talk about what looks to be the potential return for Gabriel Landeskog in time for the playoffs. He has been what's the word? Not activated. I don't know.
No, not yet. He's been sent on assignment.
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, so he gets 3 games with the Colorado Eagles before they have to shut him down or he hits the salary cap. So, but yeah, Loveland, baby.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I wonder how many people.
That's gonna be so weird. The Eagles Landeskog jersey. That's a keeper, man. They don't get that. Ooh.
Collector edition.
Yeah. And that's gonna look so sick. Their units are pretty nice anyway.
Yeah, cool. I do like
Andy on it.
Yeah, and he's been up there, and he looks like he's looking pretty spry. Saw him do some skating, looking like he's got some decent change of direction, looking healthy out there. This is setting up for him to return for the playoffs, right? Am I looking too far into this?
Nope. No, there's no other reason. He's skated. He's practiced with the guys. We talked about it last week. So I think they're not hitting him probably, or they weren't. And I don't know. I haven't double checked. I don't know how physical practices got. Even if there was some physicality, I think people, everyone knows who that is, and it, like you don't buckles Landy on his like comeback, Right. Not that'd be an Eagles kid or let some AHLer. So the question isn't. I don't think the question is he going to come back for the playoffs? I think the question, in what role, and much, and does this help, or is this a distraction? Is it I think that there are a whole bunch of different angles to look at it. What do you think? One, what do you think his role will be, barring how he plays? A steady amount of minutes, 3 games. He gets the call. He's back in an Avs jersey. If you're Bednar, you know what? I mean, like you said, this team is rolling. The second half of the year, I think that they are the best team in the NHL points wise, if not the best. They're really good. So what do you do? I mean, what do you do? It ain't broke, but you're gonna fix it. And what are you gonna do to fix it?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's got to come in as a third or fourth line wing to start. I'm guessing that they'll probably put him a third line wing. I like a guy like Miles Wood, but I think that Landeskog, if at all close to 100%, is definitely better than that kind of player. I just think you've got flexibility. I don't think that you move any of those second line guys off necessarily, unless Landy just is real spry out there and is looking great and is, creating havoc like he used to and being physical like he used to. But I don't know that you really want to mix up, especially with the chemistry that these guys are still building together. I don't know that you really want to interfere with that, quote unquote. They've had some different lineups with that second group. They played Nichushkin with McKinnon. They played him with Brock Nelson. Like they've just been trying to find that group that fits. I think they're finally building some continuity between that, kind of finding those lineups for the first and second line. That'll be pretty static moving forward. But yeah, I mean, I think to throw Gabe on, on the third line wing is great. I think that gives you someone who offers you a new dimension, someone who brings some toughness, assuming he can play anything close to how he used to. And then you kind of play it by ear from there. If guys are not showing up and contributing the way that you want them to come playoff time, or one of your lines is a little stagnant and you're not producing the way that you want to, then maybe you consider moving him up or down the lineup. But I think right now you slot him in at third line winger and let him run.
Yeah, it's like, that's rough. I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, it's Gabe Landeskog. I don't think he forgot how to play hockey.
No,
right. It's not, it's the feel of it, but more it's the, how will guys know him, right? And
sure.
And what he does, where he likes, like, that part I think is going to be the hard part, because I think the guy that he probably plays best next to is Nate.
Yeah.
And I mean, the hard part is what Nate does for other guys that aren't to the level of Gabe Landeskog, right? And so I would say I don't think it's a distraction. I think it's a boost, in my opinion, when you watch, and they've probably been aware of like what he's had to do to get physically back,
right?
And I think it kind of adds to the allure of Gabe Landeskog coming back and potentially, right, Nathan McKinnon back-to-back Hart Trophy, right? Cale Makar being able to get the. I mean, those two guys have been the pinnacle of their, of the sport and their, in their roles. And it feels like it can be a catalyst to like who could beat us now, right? Like, I mean,
yeah,
just that little bit of a push of, yeah, like you said, if Gabe comes in and he's the third or fourth line, or he comes in, he gets third or fourth line minutes and he plays some penalty kill. Like if, you know, if he's feeling good, you know, a couple shifts on the power play, you know, it's let him work up to, because he's like, you know, when they won the cup, he's maybe a top 20 NHL player. You know, like it's not like this isn't just some rando dude. This is, you know, number 1 overall pick, captain of the team, like just the heart and soul guy who's scored 30 goals. Like this is a dude. And so, yeah, I think let him inch in and then make it be a problem. And maybe there are guys that that would have more of a concern about how they'd handle it if it was a young kid or right, like, you know, someone that hasn't you know, pissed in the pot yet and all that stuff. So, but with it being Gabe and his history here, and I think in the NHL too, I think that there is a different level of respect for even guys that you played against. You hear, was it Draper, or, you know, talk about Joe Sakic and like you couldn't hit him.
Yeah.
You know, like you couldn't rough him. You could, you know, just that's Mr. Sakic to you. You know, that was what Brett Hull told him. And that, like, that stuff like that, like, yeah, all right, you know. And I think Gabe probably walks in with some of that. He plays the game with class. He's tough, like all the stuff. Like, that's Gabe Landeskog. Of course, you're going to take 5 less minutes. You know, like, shut your mouth.
Yeah.
And when you get the sport of Nate and Kale, right, like they got to be like dudes. I think that kind of fills maybe some of the team chemistry. If there were any issues with Mikko going out, I think that kind of like patches that right there. And I'm just like, I'm pumped for it. You know, and the best part is in a 7-game series, he won't be the reason they lose, right? So
no.
So if he's rusty or whatever, it takes 4, you know, to get ousted. He's not going to be the reason that you don't. That's controllable. He has a really rough game. You know, you shelve him for the next one. He has a pulled hammy. I don't know, whatever, right? Like all the stuff. So if there were 2 different ends of a spectrum sharing the same building than there are right now.
Yeah.
At Ball Arena and the Cronkies. I don't know what it is. This is just like, it's
pretty wild.
It's pretty wild. So, but you know what? When we talked about it, you know, I at the beginning of the year, we said, right, if you get Val for 70% of the games and you get Gabe at 70%, like, I take them both. They're still right then, but without Val in the dirty work that he does, and especially that it's like amplified because you don't have Gabe to do that either. Gabe is you know, he's as good of a 2-way player as there was over the last decade. And so then I think that gets exacerbated when Val, who is also one of the best 2-way players in hockey, isn't on the ice. That gap is so visible. And now you've got one back who's, shout out to Val, man. That's I really hope he gets some flowers.
Me too.
There was some, and rightfully so, man. You know, some of it I bet wasn't pretty. He knew he was in a pretty dark place. Or for him to hold it, for those guys to accept him back. Now to get Gabe and like, hey, let's run it back, boys. You know, like we got, you know, what those 2 have had to overcome, what this team has held together without them both. You know, that's talk about an opportunity for a pretty storybook run. So one, you got Gabe and his docu-series that's following all the stuff.
Yeah.
Man, and if there were like a time for like a Hard Knocks playoff edition following the Avs or something, like, oh my gosh, I'd eat that up, man. I don't even know what I would pay to own it, just to like watch it on my phone.
100%.
Religiously. Like, it would just be so dope. So, man, Yeah, they're gonna win the cup. I'm like, what time is it right now? It is 2:49, 49, 2025. Proclamation, Avalanche Cup. Not like I'm standing on like a huge limb, but they also got to play the Stars, who, if I recall, let's see what the odds are, boys. Let's see what the odds are.
I want to know because I haven't actually looked at all.
Because I think, let's see. So Western Conference favorites, Dallas Stars. So this is for MGM.
Mm-hmm.
So Dallas Stars plus 300. So bet 100, you win 300.
Yeah,
it's pretty good, but definitely on the lower end of. It's the lowest. The next lowest odds are the Colorado Avalanche at plus 400. Then you got Edmonton at plus 450. So you have the two Western Conference favorites who will play in round one because the NHL got to make divisions matter, guys. So what we're going to do is, one, you're going to heavily weight division games, and the two, you're going to play them in the first round.
Yeah, that's wild.
Which is crazy because Winnipeg, Stanley Cup odds. Okay. All right, we're going to do this now.
Mm-hmm.
Stanley Cup odds, Dallas plus 600. So Dallas Stars are the Stanley Cup favorites.
Right.
Florida Panthers, Eastern Conference favorites, reigning Stanley Cup champions, plus 650.
Yep.
Colorado Avalanche, third. So second in the West, third overall. Not bad, plus 750. The Winnipeg Jets, who, if I recall, they're in the lead for the President's Trophy.
Yeah, I think they're going to win.
Them in Washington.
Yeah, them in Washington.
It's interesting. So Washington and Winnipeg are plus 1,100.
Jeez, that's a big gap.
They are they are tied for 8 or tied for 7th with Tampa, respectively. So the two teams with the best records in each conference are like not even the odds, like that they're not going to make the Western Conference.
Second and third favorite in their division, respectively.
And they're in their conference, yet they are fighting it out right now. Best, Ole, Passan, Gretzky, like all the really cool stuff. Man, you guys aren't going to win the cup. Let's just keep it real. It's most likely going to be whoever wins out of this first round matchup between the second seed in the Central Division and the third seed in the Central Division.
Yeah.
Which is just, it's hockey. And in the end, you got to get through, right? So it would be much better if this were the Western Conference Finals or even a semifinal. But you got to get through. And, they slammed the door shut on this team last year. They had Mikko. The dreaded Mikko Rantanen. I can't even hate him. I can't even try. Because in the end, the trade is pretty good. You got a couple picks. You got Marty Netchus, who's been baller. Yeah, what's a hockey phrase for baller? Anyone know?
I don't know. I have to think about it.
What's some hockey slang? Got to be something, right?
There's something.
Right? It's not a hoser, that's for sure. Googling it right now. Can be referred to as a pro, a star, a stud, or even a gunner. That's pretty dope. He's a gunner, bro. He's a gunner.
He is.
Oh, we gotta be careful. I could get us a penalty. If I'm John Morant.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, it's such an interesting position with Gabe too. All right, just to go back to that really quick, you have to imagine that they feel confident that he is going to be able to play at least competitively
or he's forcing their hand because they there was a call out. And in my opinion,
sure,
McFarland a little while, and rightfully so. Like, dude, you gotta we gotta go. You know what I mean? Like we're essentially in a window, and in the tightest cap sport in pro sports, in American pro sports, I don't even know if they have salary caps anywhere else, right? Like, dude, something. And
right.
He is, so yeah, there has to be. Yeah. You don't to tinker with this, especially after how volatile that is. They gave up all those trade assets, no guarantees that any of that Brock comes back, right? Like this is the run, guys.
Yeah.
And then to like, all right, and then we're gonna sprinkle our injured captain who went out like a boss, right? One leg, winning a Stanley Cup, just like, oh, and you got to take him back now. Like, yeah, that's a ton, man. That's a ton. You're right. They got to know. So with what?
Yeah,
with what degree of certainty, if it's you, your Bednar, your Beds, Betty?
Yeah.
What what would you need to feel like? Because you have a personal relationship with this guy too, right? Like hockey, like that, it's a tight. At least it appears to be. Like if you're tight, there's loyalties, and you have them. I mean, you saw with Mikko getting dealt, right? Like that was a gut punch.
Yeah.
And so then you have a guy like Landy who, like, man, like I'd let him date my daughters, right? Like he seems like that kind of dude,
Right.
like, I mean, so with that, yeah, like what do you do? So you have that, what level of certainty would you have had to have to tinker with this machine?
Right. I would hope that there is a good enough relationship either in the locker room between McKinnon and Gabe, or some of the guys and Gabe, or even Bednar and the front office and Gabe, to say like either one of two things. Like, hey, we have to see enough to get you out here. You've got to be able to show it in practice. You've got to be there. You've got to be in the right condition, and then we'll give it a run and see what happens. Or it's got to be, we respect you enough to like say, okay, you're good enough to give you a shot. But then if you're not able to live up to what we know we need to move forward with this team, then you've got to be okay getting shells in the playoffs. And that's hard. I mean, but those are both tough conversations to have. One is a little more optimistic and like, hey, stick around the team, stay healthy, show me what you got in practice, and go up and play your 2 or 3 games with the Eagles, and let's get you back in here and let's run and see if we can hit the ground running. But I think you have to, and obviously in the front office and in the locker room, they know what Gabe's going to be able to give more so than we do, just speculating out here. But I think that it either comes from a place of like, hey, we feel like he's ready and he can contribute to winning for this team, or hey, you've got enough cachet with this community and this club that we're willing to give it a try, but we're not going to put the future success of this team on the line to be able to move forward and potentially win a cup. And it's just got to be that way. I think that more likely, I would guess that they're feeling good about where he's at. I don't think that, and I don't know the personalities of Bednar and McFarland and them, but I have to guess that if they think that there's a legitimate chance to win the cup, that they're not going to put a stumbling block in the way of the team. That just seemed to be how they function. Even a guy like McKinnon, who is a dog, I don't know that he would want, if you feel like you're on track to win a cup potentially, I don't know that you take a risk and put it something that could be A, catastrophic for the team chemistry, and B, catastrophic for a player individually based on their health. Like, I don't know that you take that risk at this point. You may as well just wait till next season and say, hey, let's ramp up in the off season. Let's get you out there the first week of the season. When the season starts, you'll be in the lineup somewhere, and then we'll kind of go from there. They don't have to move his timeline forward. So that's what makes me think that they feel good about where he is, and that he feels good about where he is.
Yep. Yeah, it's I'm looking kind of at the roster. It's interesting. This roster is kind of like in a sweet spot. So Landy and Brock, Nelson, and Charlie Coyle are the oldest.
Yeah.
So Coyle, Nelson, 33, Landy, 32, which, man, what I would give to be 33. But then, like to 26, essentially. With most of the guys being more towards that 28, 29, 30. Like, this is these are seasoned vets with still a little, like, some mileage left. Val's 30, McKinnon is 29, right? Like Colton's 28. It's just like this is their window. So one, I hope we appreciate it. Like, even the shortcomings and all the stuff. What a season. And then, if you can get 2 Stanley Cup appearances even in a 4-year span with a cup win, like that's a pretty damn good snapshot. You hope that it doesn't close for sure. But this is kind of the window that these guys are in, that this team's in. And I agree with you. And I believe that Landy wouldn't come in if he didn't feel like, you know what, I can contribute. I can, like, we're going to ramp up. And I think if I come back, I can help out this team, and not just to go skating in a circle and to say, like, I made it back. Right. He's getting paid either way. So it's not for, I think, anything but the love of the game and the team, probably, and to be able to get back to the thing that you love doing. And again, this is probably, we forget, especially with hockey, and especially guys that are foreign born to the U.S., they've been professional hockey players since they were 12, boarding school.
Yeah.
We have that, we got that in Canada. A few friends that their kids are up there. They're 13 years old and juniors, and it's a boarding school. They get some school, but essentially they play hockey. That's what they do. So his identity, he's Gabe Landeskog, the hockey player. That's probably the first way that he identifies himself. Then it's probably from Sweden. And then probably, I like trucks. I don't know, whatever. Right. But it's just, he is a hockey player, and that was taken from him. He didn't give it up. He wasn't able to play. So, there's got to be some love and passion to put yourself through that injury that he has had to go through to get back to where he's at. So, it's the same. What is it? The Melo Ball injury, right? Melo just came back this season, like finally dunked like mid-season. Like that was a good bounce. So, couldn't shoot with the lick. Good defender, good pass, but could bounce, and then he had to like ease in the NBA court. And that's these guys' identity. So, welcome back, Gabe. Man, I'll cry if they win the cup. Watching Gabe, if Gabe holds it, like that's a wrap. That is a wrap.
100%.
That is a wrap. Just thought of it, like, oh my gosh, right? Like,
for sure.
Because he's the first one to get touch it. You still got the C on his chest, like,
man.
Oh man, that'd be nuts. Oh, all right. Now we're gonna go down. We should have switched the order today.
Yeah, we should have. We talked about this for half an hour. So I'm surprised we talked about it for so long, to be honest. But it is worth talking about, and it's something exciting.
And it's like, it's just, I mean, they go look at the schedule, man. This team it's a different dude every night, while the Stars are still playing star, right? They are gunners right now.
Yeah.
Right. Real studs out there. It's just, and Wedgwood last night, right? Like it's, your backup goalie is playing starter goalie. Effort. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
fantastic.
How long have we been bitching about goaltending?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's a significant, it's like the Rockies bullpen. Like, how long are we going to talk about it before we fix it? And then all of a sudden it's fixed. I don't know what to complain about anymore.
Yeah. 100%.
And until next year, this year, they're making a combined $3.85 million, both goalies.
Right.
They're making less than what Gorgie made.
Yeah.
Oh, McFarland, you sneaky. You could leave some notes for the Nuggets. That'd be great. All right. Moving on. A little bit of Broncos talk, and we'll finish it up.
Yeah. We'll go quick.
The broken black eye, that is. Just kidding.
Let's talk a little bit of Broncos. I just wanted to do some thought exercises coming up to the draft. We've talked a lot about the draft, and so I don't think we need to spend a ton of time. But wanted to do a little this or that as far as the Broncos draft picks are concerned. So I just want to run through a few scenarios with you when it comes to the possible first round selection for the Denver Broncos, and I want to get your take. So first of all, I want to pose to you a question of position group. If you have to pick one or the other, I want you to pick one and then give me your reasoning. I want to go offense, and I want to say, would you rather have the top receiver on your board, that whoever falls to 20, or the top running back on your board, whoever falls to 20? And that could be Genty, that could be Hampton,
top running back for sure. Yep. I mean, if it's, I would rather have Genty than T-Mac. T-Mac is my number one receiver. I think he's
Right.
he's like
You
praying
mean behind
mantis out
Travis
there.
Hunter?
Oh, yes. Travis Hunter
Yeah.
he's on a different stratosphere.
Right,
If he
right,
gets
right.
past 2, I riot.
Yeah, 100%.
Like,
I agree.
for real. I don't care. Even if Shedeur gets drafted number 2, which I'd love, go Buffs, all the stuff. Yeah, I'll be mad. Like Travis Hunter, if you watched any of his pro day, like he's not trying and he's still better than you. You know, like it's just,
Yeah.
and not that he's not putting in effort, but it comes so natural to that guy that it's a joy to watch and what he's able to do. You know, it's the equivalent of, for the most part, right? Like what most of these guys are like in high school.
Yeah.
You know, or middle school maybe, where they're just the best player on the field, bar none. Best athlete. Well, he's doing it now, right? But like to be the guy that is the fact that he didn't win the Thorpe Trophy for best defensive back or even just he wasn't nominated, but he won it. He's the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
And then the Biletnikoff, right? I think he won it last year. I think he won the Thorpe last year. And maybe that was it.
Yeah,
like you can't win for different. You gotta. I don't even know. But to do that, playing 95% of the snaps on both sides, like it's just.
Yeah,
he's a unicorn. Like he's the unicorn of unicorns. So he's out of my box. If he were anywhere near attainable, the Broncos don't need go get. Like you never regret getting the best player in any draft. You're never like, oh yeah, we got the best player in the draft, but we gave up too much for him. No one's ever said that.
Right.
You know. So I think I've come around. I wasn't huge with Genty. I still wouldn't trade up massively for him if the position groups were to fall. I think the biggest impact, if you got a guy that can tote the rock, that can get you 1,200 yards rushing, 500 yards receiving, this offensive, like look what Bo Nix did without it.
Right.
You know, like that run game was awful. He was the best part of the run game. So now if you get someone that he can hand off the ball and take 30 less hits a game because he doesn't have to like run. It'd be huge. But if it were to go like it would be Genty. So no Travis Hunter. It'd be Genty, T-Mac,
right.
And then maybe. And then it would kind of depend on how's the board falling. What's the second round going to look like for you? Do you have some wiggle room to maybe move up in the second round? That would depend on who I would take after those two. So it's, it is, for me, it's Genty. If he's not there and McMillan falls, yep. Like, I mean, you got Cortland and T-Mac, like, and then you go Vele with Evan Ingram.
Yeah.
Throw the ball high, G. You know what I mean?
That's a lot of jump balls.
That's right. Like, I mean, if you throw a pick, right, like you messed up. It's not that it was a bad throw. You know, like just put it in the area. Oh my gosh, that'd be stellar. So I love T-Mac. Watching more of him again. Like he messed around and got 1,400 yards of back-to-back seasons. You know, and he played as a true freshman. Mind you, he's a true junior, which we don't see much right now with COVID and all the stuff. And his coach left to go to Washington, assumed that him and Nico were going to go with him. Nito, whatever the quarterback's name is. And he stayed and he's like, no, man, I'm loyal to my dudes. Like, that wasn't a part of my deal. I'm staying in Arizona. That was a rough season. Kid balled out. He was like, they knew who was going to get the ball. Dude still got the ball. You know, like it was just, is there things to work on? Yeah, because he's 21. Yep. If he's a finished product coming to the NFL, get a different dude. You know what I mean? Like none of them should be. So,
no.
And if all of the, he doesn't watch film and if he did that without watching film, I'm not worried about Sean Payton not getting him to buy in. Not worried about it. You come here, you got Bo Nix, you got Cortland Sutton. You know what I mean? Like you got Quinn Miners, and you're going to tell me that he's going to be like, no, I'm too big for the NFL. I ain't watching film. I feel pretty good about him coming and balling. Like, I mean, he balled out with his dudes. He didn't go take more money at Washington. He didn't, so there's probably a little bit more of him being a good dude. Maybe doesn't understand film, maybe the coach, all the stuff, if that is even correct. So that's mine. What about you? What's your
Yeah, I mean, I think if GNT is there, you take GNT. As fun as it would be to have McMillan there, I just think that you need someone in that running game. Even though I do think that you could get quality running backs in the second and third round. I mean, if the top positional prospects there, and he's a guy that a lot of people, and I think we're kind of the same. I think we're both high on him. I don't know that we're as high as the consensus necessarily, but I do think he's got some high upside for sure, and I do like the way that he plays. He's compact. He has great contact balance. He makes guys miss in open space. He's got long speed. There's a lot of things to love there. It's funny. I think when I first started watching him, my initial comp was like a little bit like Ray Rice. I think he can be more effective maybe in the passing game than Ray Rice. But that's
Ray was really, really good, man. Ray was
he was a good player.
If you could rewind, right? Like and
for
kudos
sure.
to him, he's actually done a really good job of being a part of domestic violence panels and all that stuff. Good job, Ray. In at least making the best out of your really, really bad decision. But he's,
sure.
In his prime, he's catching like 60, 70 balls, and
yeah, he didn't have that.
To do it all. Yeah.
Ball field at all.
That's a good, I like that. That's a good comp. Same short, compact, right? Like he had 78 catches in his second year, 63, 76, 61, 58.
Yeah. And he just has that like bowling ball downhill, physical running, style. Can absorb hits, doesn't seem to take the worst of many hits out there. Like you expect that he's going to go out there and he's going to be okay. And if he takes a big hit, it's not going to be.
Really, Ray Rice missed a game. So after his rookie year, where he missed 3 games, after his rookie year, he missed 1 game.
Yeah.
Until the wheels fell off. And so, like it's a guy that's going to play and play out. Would you cap it though? Because my belief right now, unless Ashton Genty shows me something different, there's a lot of tread off of those tires already.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's a way that he makes it to being a productive second contract guy with the 5th year. You have the 5th year, the option for 2 franchise tags, which for a running back is right now is significantly reduced.
Right.
Does that sway you at all, knowing that like he's probably not going to be the guy that's going to last more than 5 years with your team potentially? Do you still draft that guy as high as he's going to
go? Yeah, I mean, I think that maybe does make him. I mean, at 20, I don't have any problem with it. If I were a team that was drafting the top 10
or top 10, yep.
Right, then I would be like, all right, we've really got to weigh the effectiveness of this pick and what it adds to our team in the immediate. Because those teams are looking at a longer recovery period and getting back to a championship window if they ever do, than the Broncos are at this point in time. The Broncos, at least we have what we feel is the key piece into that rebuilding, which is your starting quarterback in Bo Nix. And so I think anything that you can do at this point in Bo's career is bring in impactful playmakers and surround him with talent. And because he is at a premium right now and you don't have to pay him for a couple of years down the road, you can take risks with young players that and ultimately maybe it's better that you don't have to pay Genty if it comes down to it, at least long term, because you're going to pay Bo Nix at some point.
We'll do it again. Russ is going to come off the books completely after this season. Yeah, you got the richest owners in football. Yep, I love it. One news of note: the Broncos signed Sam Franklin. I think it might be Sam Franklin Jr. Safety from Carolina. However, cut his teeth or earned most of his snaps on special teams. Was a captain for the Panthers last year. Does have a sack, a pick, forced fumble. I think a return for a touchdown. So a guy that can do some stuff on defense. So a deep group who I thought that the Broncos should take a safety in the draft. I think don't at all now. You brought Hufanga.
Sure.
You got DTY coming back. You got to figure out Skinner. And now with Franklin, I think that you're pretty set with kind of depth there. Devon Key being a pretty good player for them last year. And so I think that they got enough there. I do like you got Sherfield, you got Stranad, and you got Franklin now, really kind of your offense, defense of special team core.
Right.
Guys that are, Justin Sherrod got brought back probably 100% because he's a good special teamer. It wasn't, we're bringing you back because we really, let him compete. Sure. If he continues to improve. Yeah. But I was worried when when Smith left, Trayvon Smith, he was a phenomenal gunner, great special teamer, and got paid accordingly. Nice job. So fill in that gap with, you got two players for the same amount of money. Sherfield can play a little bit of offense. Franklin can play a little bit of defense, which you weren't getting last year. Like that wasn't, you didn't want him playing corner. More than, more than a
right.
Definitely a source. So I like that. Just to plug that in, I think it was a good addition to set up. If they make one more move, we'll go quick. One more move before the draft. Who do you want? Go.
You mean a free agent or something?
They just were to grab someone available, or even like position. If they were to grab someone, if you don't have a name in mind, who'd you want?
Yeah, I don't know if I have a name in mind, but I would like them to. I think that if they could get someone, I think if you could find like a good depth corner, I would be happy with that. Also, I think obviously we're talking about running backs. If there's someone that is out there that they could kind of just
check it out.
Yeah, like for sure, like that could be a rotational guy. Maybe isn't going to be your 3-down back, but has some experience and you trust, especially in like short down situations, or just to take a little bit of pressure off of whoever you draft pick, assuming whoever you pick in the draft, assuming you pick a running back, then I would be all for that as well.
Yeah, I think I would agree. I would like Dobbins. I bet that there's a reason, either for his camp or the Broncos or anyone else, about why he's not, which isn't probably a good thing for him because it's so deep. I wouldn't mind David Andrews, a center for that played for the Patriots for a long time, coming in and being kind of a vet min, push Wattenberg to continue to play. I like the depth corner. I think having a vet is always good. That said, they don't need one, which is nice. So it's a little bit of, you can kind of wait till maybe after the draft to see. Yeah, you got Tre'Davious White, you got Shaq Griffin, you got CJ Henderson, Mike Hilton, Stephon Gilmore, Rasul Douglas, Kendall Fuller. No more Fullers back here. James Bradbury, Sante Samuel Jr., who's only 25, Florida State alum. So I think you got some good corners out there. Jack Jones, who just got cut. I think that you could bring in a guy if you need it. So I like that, though. I think adding to that room, let's go all in for sure. And speaking of all in, the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah.
The Denver Nuggets shook the Denver sports front range community, whatever, to its core. NBA took notice. The Nuggets fire NBA championship winning head coach Mike Malone, as well as Calvin Booth, GM, and I think GM on record for winning the championship. So the only championship in team history, only final appearance in team history, let alone championship team history. The two, at least on court, the biggest influences in the front office and on the side of the court are gone with 3 games left. And really what is that is a unprecedented move for a team a couple seasons off of a NBA championship with a guy who is putting in the best statistical 5-year stretch in the history of basketball. What is your, I need to know what you think, because I know what I think, and it's not good in there. What's your take on the Cronkies stepping in saying we are better with just winging it going into the playoffs than this leadership going into the playoffs?
Yeah. Well, first, I want to say that I'm sad. I'm sad about the departure of Michael Malone. I think that Malone was a coach that obviously now historically for the Nuggets is probably the best Nuggets coach of all time.
Yes, and the winningest coach.
Winningest coach, only championship for the franchise. I mean, I don't think there's much of an argument at this point. But he's also a guy that believed in this team. He's a guy that was like the perfect guy to bring in for a small market with that had some potential, that loved that underdog mentality, that had an attitude, that would punch back against those bigger franchises like the Lakers. You know, I mean, who else is going to call the Lakers, the Lakers daddy, you know, at a parade? You know, probably not a lot of coaches would do that. Malone didn't have any fear of that sort of thing. He didn't fear the moment. He was a great coach to take a young group of guys and kind of maximize that potential. And we saw that with the culmination of a championship. All of that being said, I don't know if there was a way to salvage both guys, either guy, I guess I should say. I mean, I think that when you have the kind of toxicity that seemed to be there between Booth and Malone, you just wonder, okay, we get rid of Booth and we bring in a new guy. What does this relationship dynamic look like? You know, is Michael Malone going to be able to concede some of the things that he was unwilling to concede to Calvin Booth? And I don't think it was so much about Booth as a person as much as it is about their basketball. Well, I mean, I'm sure they're pieces.
Yeah, no, it absolutely became it was both, right?
Yeah, so, I don't know if it started that way, is what I'll say.
That conflict became it festered for sure.
But I just mean, like, I don't think that's where I don't think fundamentally they didn't see eye to eye because they didn't like each other's people. I think that started with their how they
different vision on what the team's going to look like. Right. And then, that sparked. It reminds you, because head coaches and front office guys have ego too. You know what I mean? 100%. And Calvin Booth played in the league, so you got to feel like he's probably got a little bit of extra, like, you know, I know I played in the damn thing. You know, like there's probably got to be some of that when he enters the room about that. I think Calvin went to Kansas too, so I think he's like, I know I know basketball also, Mike. You know, like that probably was a little bit of the starting point, but you're on it for sure. And
I think that when that kind of all came to a head, or, you know, had they been in the midst of it for so long, I think you pull the plug now and you hope that just kind of removing all of that tension from the building kind of gives this team a shot in the arm and allows them a chance to be competitive down the stretch here. And I think that's what they're hoping. But B, I think the players really like David Adelman, and I actually really like David Adelman as an interim coach. I don't know that ultimately he'll be the guy who gets the job at the end of this, but I think that if you have someone who you feel like can be a steadying force in that locker room, who knows what they have been doing this season and what kind of combinations that they can kind of continue to run into the postseason to give them a chance to be successful, and also will be willing to make some tweaks of their own. I think Adelman's that guy. You know, obviously he's son of a coach, son of Rick Adelman, who's a great NBA head coach. And it just sounds like he's a locker room guy. A lot of guys in the locker room enjoy him. I think that he is. Yeah, that's true. I think that is true.
My bad, dog.
Good call though. But regardless, I just think that, you know, if you're going to make the move and you try and salvage this year, then you've got to do it now. You know, I don't think that with the continuing tension in the building, with how. And I don't think Michael Malone has endeared himself very well to the young players on this team. So I think even if you leave him in place as the coach, you know, I don't know that those guys are going to go out and play for him, you know, the same way that they might play for a guy like Adelman. So I understand the thinking behind it. I think that's part of it too, right?
They're not gonna. Yeah, you're right. You know, Michael Malone. Mike's a tough coach, man. It's not, you know, he's a player's coach when you are in his pocket, right? When you're his guy.
Yep.
And he's probably a dick if you're not, you know, and my concern has been he's a defensive coach. Their defense is terrible.
Yep.
So one, the players that they chose days, and Calvin chose to, really from the championship on, right? I think that's when the strife happened about like, do we build for now or later? But right, like that split happened. And then the guys he picked, we do not have a ton of really good knockdown outside shooters, nor on ball wing defenders. It's really hard to win in the league when you're not really good at one of those things. And they're not good at one of those things.
Right.
Both times. So there's that. I think with Mike, I think Mike had favorites. I think you could see, I think when you're winning, that locker room was probably fine. And we all know when you're not winning, right, it doesn't bring out the best in you. I don't care how gracious of a loser you are. Your mood is not the same as than when you're winning. So
Right.
For me, my opinion, just from a leadership perspective, because that's kind of the route that I think I'm most qualified to come into. If I'm Josh Kroenke, I do that because it can't get worse. Like this is as low as I can imagine it being. And I think that a shot in the arm with a new coach has a better chance to wake these guys up than the current voices are. He also said we were going to go in this direction anyway, which is interesting because I think we all thought Calvin was on his way out. So that one isn't as shocking since he's a lame duck essentially. But we didn't know if Mike was going to be out. We knew at least one of them is probably going to be Calvin. Mike just won a championship. So for Kroenke to come out and say we're going to do this anyway, right? Like goes to show that it got so bad, which the stories that I've heard as of now, it's petty, like it is opportunities to bash each other through the media within the hall rooms, not talking, like all this stuff. I don't care how good of a coach you are. If you are allowing that to seep into the culture, you have to go. I'm sad it got here. I will forever be a Mike Malone stan.
Me too. Me too.
And sorry, bro, peace out. I love Mike Shanahan. I would never wanted Mike Shanahan to go. At some point, Mike Shanahan had to go. Right. And I feel the same about Sean Payton, all the stuff. Like at some point you just lose your voice. Either the team has to turn over enough that you're always a fresh perspective, or you got to get a fresh perspective. I nailed it, Chris. I think that's appropriately on, like when they're your guys and they've gone to battle with them a lot. He made excuses for Jokic doesn't need excuses, but for Jamal, for Aaron Gordon, right? The guys that are his guys. And I bet you bench a guy like Christian Brown for Russell Westbrook. Christian Brown's never failed. Right? He's been a winner and a producer at a high level. Maybe he didn't take it as well as we assumed that he was gonna. That makes sense now. Like, yeah, you're benching me because Russ is delicate. I'm fucking balling out. So it had to be bad enough to do that without the honor of giving Malone like a chance just to run it, even if you're like, hey, you know what? Give him a playoff run with his team. They must have felt like he lost the team to no longer feel obligated to let him run it through. Right. So it wasn't like, oh yeah, one more shot out with your guys, send off. He lost enough of them that these were no longer his guys.
Right.
Right. So, and Adelman, the time that he's had to step in and coach, brief stints as that they are, the offense looked better. So if this isn't going to be a top 10 defensive team, they better be a productive, efficient, quality offensive team, or they're going to get routed. So having an opportunity to get to see Adelman over a 3-game stretch is great. It's a small addition, so I don't think it's enough anyway. But it gives you something. And then on the flip side of that, I think it's a wake up to like, guys, as an owner, your contract's guaranteed, but this isn't acceptable. So much so that Michael Malone, who probably deserved at least another year, let alone 3 games. Nope. Like that's unacceptable. We're a championship caliber organization. We're going to treat ourselves as such. We're going to behave in such a manner. This is unacceptable. So that part to me is like, nice job, Josh. I hate that I had to go to that. I wish I would have, just let Calvin go right now. And then, let Mike go through. That's probably what I would have done. But they're in the building enough to know, like, this is not, it's unacceptable. I think it's you also don't do it if you feel like Nikola isn't savable, right? Like the worry was always like, he's going to be the head coach here as long as Nikola wants him to be. And not that Nikola went and said, you need to get rid of him. But I think that there's an understanding of like, we have to do this or we will lose Nikola. He's frustrated. he's been frustrated more over the last month visibly than I have seen him totality in his career. For him to mention, I'm playing the best basketball of my life, and so I don't know what else to do. For him to say that, like, and put it about him, like, yeah, you're wasting really damn good basketball for me. You know, like, he's aware they had to do something. So, you know what, kudos to doing it. It sucks. Now I feel like it's a little bit of like the Broncos making the playoffs. Like, anything that we do will be great.
Yeah.
Anything we do will be great. That said, they still have the 6th best odds of winning the championship. So they didn't move with this move, which is interesting. But one thing that I am super excited for us to speculate, and if it hasn't started, I'm starting it now. Bring Chauncey home.
I've thought about that. I did think about that.
He's gotten so much out of a Blazers team that's trash. And to get Scoot Henderson to maybe not only be a fringe all-star player.
Yeah. Especially after the start he had it with his.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he helped dig him out of a hole to get really good basketball. And a team for the second half of the season was playing, playoff level basketball, playoff worthy basketball. Knows the city, knows the expectation, knows the organization, is revered, is close enough to the age with the guys, has done it on a high level.
Yeah.
Like that. Why not? So for me, and I don't know what it is, like what you have to do to get a coach off of another team. I don't know how basketball does that.
I don't know either.
Yeah. So if that's doable, I'm moving hell and earth, because I think maybe Adelman, if they go to Western Conference Finals, they look great. Maybe. But really, how many times has the interim head coach in any sport been the long-term answer? He might be the right answer for someone else, but I think that they need a guy who comes in with cachet, that it's Pat Riley, it's Pop. It's like, I think you need that right now. And Adelman isn't that at the moment. So that's my take.
Yeah, no, and I like that. It will be interesting to see kind of the names that emerge. I think I was listening to, I think it must have been the DNVR podcast, and they're saying, well, this is now the most attractive head coaching position or head coaching opening in the NBA. Who doesn't want to coach Nikola Jokic?
Well, there's only 2 openings right now.
You're right.
But yeah.
But
yeah, for sure.
I would push back against that just a little bit. Not to say that it's not, because I do think that it's a very attractive place. It's a team that has a lot of good pieces in place. It's not a great sell for a GM necessarily, but you can find someone who has a plan.
Or someone, in my opinion, that's attached to a really great coach, right? It's a little bit like George Payton and Sean Payton. George and Sean mesh well because George understands what Sean is saying when he gives him, like, go find me this kind of player. They're synced up enough where the George Payton's effort and whatever player he's getting fits what Sean wants. I think you gotta get a coach that is like, whoever the general manager is going to be. It just has to be someone that's connected to that. It doesn't sound like Calvin had many connections in the NBA community. So your deals are made because of relationships. Look at Luka, your best buds. That's how it happens. Get a guy that has a lot of friends, and then a coach that is legit. And that's the hope or prescription. I agree. It's for a GM is only to go down, right? Like, you're wasting literally the prime of one of the best players in the history of basketball.
Yeah.
And it can't be acceptable. I think when they do that, they gotta swing big. And like you said, this would be a great team. You have the best starting 5 hands down in the NBA. It's like, now you got to figure out how to get some good quality minutes from the guys that are on the bench. And it's not like they don't have talent on the bench. So
I think it's hard. You've got to strike a certain balance, because I think that what I liked about Michael Malone and being this team's coach, I do sense that there was an ego for sure inside of that building, 100%. However, he credited Jokic for a lot of the success of that team. And in doing so, I think that he allowed Jokic to kind of be the star that he is. I think that you've got to find someone who's willing to play second fiddle to Jokic as far as when we look at this team, what's the identity of this team? It's Nikola Jokic. It's not the head coach. Michael Malone, I don't know that he was ever considered as coach of the year seriously in his tenure in 10 years with the Denver Nuggets. He certainly never won it. And I think that part of that is like you've got the highest IQ player in the NBA, arguably, on your roster. A lot of what happens in games is because of that player. And you've got to be able to work inside of those parameters. And it's tough, man. It's a tough job to be in, to be the coach of the best player in the world and be able to have enough ego to just say like, hey, we're doing this together as a team, as a unit. This is our guy. And whether I get the credit or not, you know, this is our identity as a team. And I hope that they can find the person that does that, because I don't think you could bring in a huge coaching personality. I don't think you could bring in a Doc Rivers to coach this kind of team. You know, I don't know if you could bring in, I mean, not that you would want
to. You know what? Sorry, I'm going to give you the rapid fire game. Yay, nay.
Okay. Sure.
Just pulling up a list from our folks over at the Denver Post. So obviously, David Adelman, we're going to move. Okay. Frank Vogel.
Yep.
Come on, rapid fire. You're taking too
long. No. I don't think
so. Mike Budenholzer.
No, it doesn't move the needle for me. Really.
Jordy Fernandez.
I mean, I do like Jordy Fernandez, but I think that it would be kind of a guy that
fresh
would work.
Yeah. Taylor Jenkins, the aforementioned.
I do like Taylor Jenkins. Yeah.
Yep. Sam Cassell.
I don't know him well enough to know, to be honest. So I'll defer on that one.
Okay, and then let's see. I'm done with Mike D'Antoni. Quinn Snyder.
I think he could make it work, and I think that he is the kind of guy you're looking for. I do. It seems that I'm tending to look at these like new and big head coaches versus your old school, which I think is what we needed. If you're going to make a change from Malone, he was an old school type of coach. You need a young tactician kind of coach that can come in and put together a game plan and just be happy to coordinate the pieces that are on the court and make the best of it.
Okay, so last two.
Okay.
Brad Stevens for essentially basketball czar.
Yeah, I mean,
you go in.
I would be all on board.
Last one, who I think, to be honest, should be a finalist for this, Becky Hammon.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, why not? I would be interested to at least see. And again, I would need to do a little more research on my end, but I've heard only positive things. I think she definitely has. You know, she's a player's coach too. Like, seems like people really respect her around the league, and that's hard to do as a woman in male-dominated sport.
Yeah, I mean, and to be honest with you, if she isn't someone that they poke the tires on, I'll be pissed. Becky Hammon, you know, what Pop said about her wasn't jargon. Pop doesn't say he doesn't blow smoke.
No, not at all.
And so I think the only way that you don't do that is because she's a woman. That's it. She's been the highest of highs in basketball and professional basketball. She's coached summer league teams. So like you can go look at how those interactions. She understudied from the best basketball coach in NBA history, or top 3. And so I think that there's just something to be said for that. I really like that hire. Another one might be Micah Nori, who is a former Nuggets assistant coach in Minnesota. Yeah. And so just a couple ideas. I know we gotta get running, but I agree with you. I think you need someone that has a fresh delivery. I don't know that it necessarily has to be like a player's coach, whatever that might be.
Sure.
But somebody that when they come in, they're commanding a different kind of energy. You know, don't oust him to bring in a dude that's the same or a woman that is the same. So I'm hopping it up right now. So Chauncey or Becky, you know, bring Colorado back home.
I like it.
State, I like it. Becky, see you for Chauncey. But
I think the big looming question with this team is the offseason and what that ends up looking like. And I think we'll just have to wait and see. We can speculate about that next week. And I'd love to get into that a little bit. Like, you know, obviously we're going to preview the playoffs at that point too. But obviously when you have a new coach and a new GM, nobody's your guy anymore. Malone's guys are not there anymore. It's whoever comes in and determines who they want and who they need to be a part of that team. Obviously Jokic is going to be everyone's guy, but outside of that, then it gets to be questionable. So lots of things to still discuss on this topic. We are certainly not done talking about it, but we have to be done today because we are at our time. But we appreciate you all for tuning in. If you want to interact with us, hit us up on X. We're more than happy to chat Colorado and sports kind of in general with you. But thank you. Be safe out there. Be kind to one another. And if you need a sports prescription, ask a doctor.
Right, you up.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle. Wait a minute.